So, you're thinking about trying World of Warcraft or you've already bought the game. In this video I'll be going over the fundamental basics of WoW and explain as much as I can as quickly as possible to not waste your time. First up, you'll need to make an account. I'd recommend starting with a trial account and play to level 20 to see if you enjoy playing the game before upgrading to a full account. On screen you can see how to make an account on both EU and US servers. Bear in mind you can't play on EU and US servers with one account. You'll need to make two separate accounts and pay two separate subscriptions. In terms of cost, if you don't want to do the trial, you'll need to buy the base game, which includes all the old expansions and allows you to level up to the previous expansion's level cap. Then to play the current expansion, you'll need to buy that separately. The base game includes a month of free game time and all the old expansions and costs £9.99 in the UK or $19.99 in the US. The current expansion costs £34.99 in the UK or $49.99 in the US. If you have a friend that plays WoW, you can do Recruit a Friend, which will give you 300% XP when leveling together. To do this, your friend will need to enter your email in-game and send you a Recruit a Friend invite. Then you'll need to click on the link in your email, log into your account, and your accounts will then be linked together for 90 days. Your friend will receive his Recruit a Friend rewards when you've paid for a month of subscription. If you level whilst your friend's offline, you can then grant them levels to catch up, and you also have the ability to summon your friend to your location. Download the World of Warcraft launcher, then click on the launcher and download WoW. It will take a few hours to install and update the game, so if you've got a potato connection, I'd recommend doing it overnight. Click play, the game will open, log in with your account details, and you'll be made to pick a server. There's 4 types of servers: normal, PvP, RP, and RP PvP. Normal servers are generally the ones you'll find a lot of PvE and raiders on. PvP servers are where you can be attacked by the opposite faction in neutral territory, so I wouldn't really recommend starting here as a new player. RP servers are for role players. I'll explain more about role playing later in this guide, and RP PvP servers are for role players who like to PvP. I'd recommend finding a server with an even split of Alliance and Horde. I use a website called Realm Pop, which I'll link below to find out the server's faction balance. For EU, I'd recommend a server called Magferodon, and US, I'd recommend a server called Blackhand. I wish I did a bit of research on servers as a new player because I picked a dead server and the game felt very lonely for a long time for me. When making your first character, you'll need to pick a faction. Bear in mind, if you pick a different faction to your friends, then you can't play with them on that character. If you can't decide between being Alliance or Horde, then click on the annotation link on screen to a video I made a while back that might help. Something to bear in mind when choosing a race are the race-specific abilities known as racials that you'll get. Some are better than others. For example, the human racial is the best for PvP, and Horde have some really strong PvE racials. Although as a new player, I wouldn't worry too much about that, just pick what you think looks cool. Once you've picked your race and faction, you'll need to pick a class to play. This is the hardest choice you'll have to make in WoW, and I myself have made multiple characters because I struggle to stick to one class. If you want to know more about the classes, then click the annotation link on screen to a video I made about choosing the right class for you. Once you've chosen your class, you'll get to customize and name your character. Make sure to pick something you're happy with because it costs money to change your name and gender. The first thing I'd recommend doing when you log into the game as a new player is sort out your key bindings, as it'll make you a much better player in the long run. By default, WASD moves your character and 1 to 0 are for your abilities. Press escape to bring up the menu and click on the key bindings button. I'd recommend changing A to strafe left instead of turn left, and D to strafe right instead of turn right. For your abilities, keep 1 to 5 as your main abilities and swap out the others for keys easy to reach from your movement keys. If you want more advice on key binding, then click the annotation link on screen for a guide I made a while back about keybinds I used before having a Razor Naga. Now for a quick UI tour. This is your backpack. The hotkey for opening this is Shift B. You can also click sort bags by clicking on the bag icon. This is the menu. You can access this by clicking on it or pressing escape. This is the help section for in-game issues. This is the in-game shop where Blizzard sells mounts, pets, and WoW tokens for real money. This is the what's new button. Always worth checking this if you've been away from the game for a while. This is the system option. Here you can adjust your graphics resolution and decide to run the game in windowed full screen or windowed full screen mode. This is the interface menu. Here you can adjust certain elements of the UI such as auto loot, turning off NPC and player names, as well as some other stuff. This is where you change your keybinds. This is the macros button. This is where you can create a button that does 2 or more things at once. This is the add-ons button. Here you can enable or disable add-ons that you currently have installed. We'll talk more about add-ons later. Log out will take you to the character select screen. Exit game will close down WoW. This is the Mount tab. Here you'll be able to drag your mounts onto your action bar. We'll talk more about mounts later. This is your Pet tab, where you can summon pets. This is the Toy tab, where you can access fun toys that you've collected. This is the Heirlooms tab. I'll explain more about heirlooms later on. This is the Guild Finder. I wouldn't bother using this though, it's useless at the moment. This is the Quest button. Clicking this will bring up the map. This is the Achievement button. Here you'll find all the achievements you can get. Here's the spellbook. There's a tab for your general abilities, class abilities, and professions. This is your character button. Here you can see your equipped items and stats. This is your titles section. You can unlock titles from getting achievements. This is the equipment manager. Here you can save armor sets and quickly change between them. This is the reputation section. I'll talk more about reputations later. This is the social section. Here you'll find your friends. This is the Who tab and is used to see what characters are in certain zones. You can also access it by typing /who. This is the Chat tab for different chats. Here's the Raid tab for organising raid groups. You can set a marker on yourself or targets by right-clicking your portrait and setting the marker. You can focus a target by right-clicking focus on their portrait. This isn't helpful until end game. Here you can enable or disable PvP. If you have this activated, you can be attacked or attack the opposite faction. You can unlock and move your characters and target's portrait by unlocking the frame, moving it and locking it in place when you're happy with it. You can click the magnifying glass to select NPCs and points of interest to show up on the minimap. You can zoom in and out of the minimap here. This is the calendar and will tell you about guild events and in-game events. This is the clock and stopwatch. You can set the clock to server time or local time. This is your XP bar. When it's purple, you're gaining normal XP. When it's blue, you're gaining 200% rested XP. To gain more rested XP, always log your character out in a capital city or inn. This is the adventurer's guide and tells you about things you can do if you're not sure. You can also click on the dungeons and raid tab to look at bosses, item drops and boss tactics for endgame dungeons and raids. This is the guild tab. Once you've joined a guild, here you'll find information on guild news, members, perks and rewards. This is the group finder. Here you can access PvP, dungeons, raids and pre-made groups. We'll look more into these things later. You can hide your UI by pressing Alt-Z and take screenshots with print screen. So with that out the way, let's talk about questing. The yellow exclamation mark quests are standard quests, the blue exclamation mark quests are daily quests, grey exclamation marks are for quests that you can't do because you're too low level, and orange exclamation marks are for legendary quests. When questing, I'd recommend you pay close attention to your map by pressing M. This will give you all the information you need to complete that quest, and hovering your mouse over an enemy or interactable item will tell you if they're part of a certain quest that you're on. The fastest way to level up is to do quests until level 15, then spam run dungeons through the group finder. Professions allow your character to either craft something for personal use or gold, or gather things to sell or use alongside other professions. Professions are really helpful in making your gold whilst leveling. As a new player, I'd recommend taking mining, skinning or herbalism. And sell your gathered goods on the auction house. The most fun profession is engineering, as it gives you access to a goblin glider, nitro boots and other fun stuff, although it can be a bit expensive to level if you're a new player. You can always change your professions and pick up new ones from the profession trainers in the capital city. Simply talk to a guard and ask them where you can find the trainer and an icon will appear on your map. In WoW, there's 3 types of roles. Damage, otherwise known as DPS. It's your job to do as much damage as you can. You can be a ranged DPS and attack the boss from long range, or a melee DPS, which get up close and personal. Tanks, it's your job to take all the damage and keep mobs and bosses attacking you. Healers, it's your job to heal everyone, preventing them from dying. When choosing gear for your character, you need to pick the best stuff for your class and spec. Paladins and warriors wear mail until level 40, where they'll replace the mail gear with plate. Death Knights also wear plate. Shaman and hunters wear leather until level 40, where they'll replace leather gear with mail. Monks, rogues, druids and demon hunters wear leather. Mages, warlocks and priests wear cloth. If you're a melee DPS warrior, paladin or death knight, you need strength on your gear. If you're a ranged DPS caster, not counting a hunter, you want intellect on your gear. If you're a melee DPS shaman, hunter, rogue, monk or demon hunter, you want agility on your gear. If you're a healer, you want intellect and spirit on your gear. If you're a plate wearing tank, you want strength, stamina and bonus armor on your gear. If you're a leather wearing tank, then you want agility, stamina and bonus armor on your gear. And if you're a ranged DPS hunter, then you want agility on your gear. If the stats and gear section confuses you, then don't worry, as I'll point you in the place of some guides later in this video that will help you out with this stuff. At level 10 you'll be made to pick a specialization, otherwise known as a spec. Each class has 3 specs to choose from except druids, which have 4 and demon hunters, which have 2. Your spec will often determine what role you'll fill in a group. At level 30 you unlock the ability to have a secondary spec, which you can change whenever you like. As you level up you'll get the ability to pick talents. These will either give you a new ability or a passive bonus to an already existing ability. Your choice on these doesn't matter too much whilst leveling, but at endgame you should really look up some guides on which ones are best. You can unlearn and reset your spec and talents by speaking to a class trainer at any time. At level 10 you can also queue for battlegrounds via the group finder. If you're a new player though, I wouldn't recommend doing this because you're going to have a very frustrating time getting killed in one hit by players with heirlooms. At level 15 you have the ability to queue for random dungeons in the group finder. Once you've chosen your selected role you'll be paired with other players in a group that consists of 3 DPS, 1 tank and 1 healer. These dungeons are a very fast way to level from 1 to 90 and I'd recommend doing them as well as their quests whilst leveling up. You'll also get a bag for completing them that contains some blue leveling gear. At level 20 you'll get a quest for your first mount. You'll need to buy the riding skill from the riding trainer for the 60% riding speed. At level 40 you can upgrade this skill to 100%. At level 60 you'll be able to purchase flying mounts in Outland as well as the 150% flying speed. After that it can be increased to 300% for quite a bit of gold. When leveling I'd recommend you always talk to the green exclamation marks to learn new flight paths which can be used to travel around the various zones. To go between the different continents of Azeroth you'll need to either take a boat as an Alliance player or a Zeppelin as Horde. Portals are the fastest means of transportation and I'd always recommend setting your Hearthstone to a place with a bunch of portals, such as the shrines in Pandaria. As a new player it's worth joining a leveling guild for bonus XP and guild perks. Simply type /2 and type looking for a social leveling guild when in a capital city. You'll quickly have someone whisper you or send you an invite. At level cap you'll want to join a guild for either raiding or PvP. To learn about applying to good guilds in WoW, click the annotation link on screen for a video I made a while back on how to do just that. Transmogging in WoW is the ability to change the appearance of your armor to something you've previously acquired in the past, while still keeping the current stats of your gear. To do this, simply visit the transmogrification vendor in your capital city. There's many reputations in World of Warcraft that can give you many rewards such as gear, cosmetics or mounts. To earn rep with a certain faction you either need to do specific reputation daily quests or grind mobs. You can keep track of your reputations via the reputation tabs in your character's interface. There's a lot of currencies in WoW that are used to buy things from different vendors. The main currencies are gold, which you can use to spend on the auction house, honor, which you can buy starter PvP gear with, and conquest points, which are used to buy the best PvP gear. You can keep track of your currencies via the currency tab in your character UI. There's many titles in WoW that can be earned via achievements such as clearing a raid on a certain difficulty, getting a certain rating in PvP, or doing something random like killing a bunch of whelps in a short period of time. Some titles are more prestigious and hard to get than others, and are often used to show player status in WoW. There's hundreds of achievements in WoW that reward you with things such as mounts, titles, tabards and achievement points. If you're bored and want something to do, maybe go out and farm some achievements. Add-ons are things you can install into WoW to display extra information and make things easier or more convenient for you. As a new player, I wouldn't worry about add-ons to start with, however at end game there's a few raiding add-ons such as Skada damage meter and Bigwig's boss mods, which I like to use myself. The easiest way to install WoW add-ons is to download the Curse add-on client, which will be linked in the description. Sign in and select the add-ons you want installed and it will do it automatically for you. As a new player you'll passively make a decent amount of gold whilst questing on your way to max level. However, a few extra things you can do is solo old raids, vendoring the gear drops, selling profession materials or playing the auction house by buying items for cheap and selling them for a higher price. PvP in WoW means player versus player, which involves you fighting other players. There's a few types of PvP, casual PvP which involves doing random battlegrounds, world PvP or skirmishes just for fun, honor or practice. There's no personal rating tied to these and anyone can take part. Rated PvP involves playing arena or rated battlegrounds to gain rating or earn conquest points. Here the competition is much tougher, but you'll be rewarded with gear, mounts and titles if you prove your worth. To go far in rated PvP, you'll need to find a stable team of players to progress with. When doing PvP battlegrounds before max level, you may come across players that feel ridiculously powerful for their level. These are known as Twinks. Twinks create characters specifically to play in certain level brackets of PvP, such as 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and so on. Twinks stop gaining experience by talking to an NPC in their faction's capital city. They'll then either farm or buy the most powerful gear and enchants for their level to dominate lesser geared players in those brackets. If you go up against a team of Twinks, you're gonna have a bad time. PvE is short for player versus environment and usually refers to players that enjoy testing their skills against bosses in dungeons and raids. In WoW there's currently 4 levels of raiding. LFR, which stands for looking for raid. This difficulty of raiding is commonly accepted as a joke because it's so ridiculously easy. Normal mode raiding, which is flexible to 10 to 30 players and a lot harder than LFR. It requires you to either form your own group or seek out a group to join. The pre-made group finder makes it really easy to find groups for this though. Heroic raiding, which is flexible for 10 to 30 players and is harder than normal mode with higher requirements. Mythic mode raiding. This is the hardest difficulty of raiding and has a set raid size of 20 players, much higher requirements, better rewards, and you'll need to find an organised mythic guild to participate in this. In WoW you'll sometimes come across random world events such as bonus objectives, treasures, elite mobs, or holiday seasonal events, which are only around during certain times of the year and give rewards in the form of cosmetics and mounts. Pet battles are a fun side thing you can do which involves collecting pets, battling them against other pets, and beating other pet trainers. It's essentially Pokemon in WoW. So if that's something that tickles your pickle, then give it a try as you can get some cool rewards and gain experience from it. You can get a bunch of toys in WoW from achievements, treasures, vendors, and monster drops, and they're all saved in your toy tab. Some of them are pretty damn hilarious. World of Warcraft is a game with a lot of backstory, long predating the 2004 release of the game. When players talk about the story in WoW, they usually refer to it as lore. If you'd like to know more about the lore of the Warcraft universe, then go check out Nomble87's channel, as he covers pretty much everything in really high quality videos. Alternatively, you could buy the Warcraft books and have yourself a read. Role-playing in WoW is the act of you joining an RP server, creating a character, making up a fictional backstory for that character, and progressing your story as you play the game, whilst not breaking any rules in relation to the game's lore. Roleplayers use add-ons such as My Roleplay to type up their character's personality and experiences, as well as to let other roleplayers know when they're in and out of character. There's a few things you can do in WoW to challenge yourself if you're bored, such as challenge mode dungeons, getting difficult achievements, or my personal favourite, the Iron Man challenge. This challenge involves you getting to max level wearing only white armor with no stats on it, not picking a specialization, and not doing dungeons. I'll put a link to wowchallenges.com in the description below. Heirlooms are pieces of gear that give you bonus experience when leveling your ults. The gear's item level will increase as your character levels up and can be used all the way to level 100 if you upgrade it. You can buy heirlooms from guild vendors in capital cities, as well as the Undercities Road Quarters for Horde and Ironforge's Hall of Explorers for Alliance. Once you're at max level and want to get into PvP or raiding, I'd recommend you look up on YouTube how to play your spec. Make sure you put the name of the patch in the YouTube search, as you don't want to read outdated guides. I'd recommend Preach Gaming for WoW PvE guides and Banana Raccoon for PvP guides. If these guys don't have the video you're looking for, then check a website called Icy Veins for written guides. Never use a website called Noxic because it's not very good. There's a lot of WoW specific terminology and acronyms that will confuse the hell out of you as a new player. I'll put a link to the WoW wiki page that will explain the meaning of all these terms, so you won't be confused when you read LFM 4 DPS HFC HC link curve in trade chat. You can test upcoming patches in WoW by downloading the public test realm client from your battle.net account. You will have a chance of getting beta access for future WoW expansions and other Blizzard games if you update your account settings as shown on screen. A few good WoW related resources I read are MMO Champion, Icy Veins, Blizzard Watch, and the World of Warcraft Reddit page. In game you might hear people talking about BlizzCon. This is a yearly event held by Blizzard and brings news of games, expansions, competitive tournaments, and other things. You can buy a virtual ticket and watch it online every November. It's kind of expensive, but it's something that I look forward to myself every year. A few WoW YouTube channels I'd recommend that make consistent WoW guides are Preach Gaming, Bellular Gaming, Asmongold, Hill vs Babyface, and Banana Raccoon. Go check them out and subscribe if you like their content. If you're watching this guide during Warlords of Draenor, then go watch this video for a few things I'd suggest doing before WoW Legion. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope I didn't forget to mention anything. If you're a new WoW player, then please check out some of the other guides on my channel or subscribe for more future guides. I hope you found this video helpful. You take it easy, and I'll see you again very soon.